welcome back to my channel. This is Saph, and today we are going to be listening to Granite track 3 on the new album Take Me Back to Eden by Sleep Token. Once we've listened to that, we're going to be discussing it, talking about the themes, analysing it a little bit, and yeah, I hope everybody enjoys this song as much as I do. Let's dive in.
Sulfur on your breath, granite in my chest. You will never have to talk about it. You'll never want to talk about it. Fury, true damn late. Reason dislocates, and you'll never have to talk about it. You'll never want to talk about it. I was more than just a body.
I'm just going to pause here for a second. The difference in tone and genre of this song to the previous two is just so incredible to me. I love that it's bringing in kind of more, I don't know, more kind of smooth R&B kind of elements. It makes me very, very happy.
In your passenger seat, and you are more than just somebody I was destined to meet. I see you go half blind when you're looking at me, but I am between the second-hand smoke and the glass on the street. You gave me nothing whatsoever but a reason to leave. You say you want me, but you know I'm not what you need, but I am.
This bit,
When you sit there, acting like you know
so good.
me, acting like you only brought me here to get below me. Never mind the death threats, falling at the doorway. Rather be 6 feet under than be lonely. And if you had a problem, then you should have told me.
That line, we'd rather be 6 feet under than be lonely. Ugh, just
Before you started getting all aggressive and controlling, you only drink the water when you think it's holy. So keep an eye on the road, or we will both be here. More than just a body in your passenger seat, and you are more than just somebody I was destined to meet. I see you go half blind when you're looking at me, but I am between the second-hand smoke and the glass on the street. You gave me nothing whatsoever but a reason to leave. You say you want me, but you know I'm not what you need, but I am.
those synths for me, you all know I love a good synth. But that is just thing of beauty. Wait for it. Blood Owl, you are not wrong, my friend. You are not wrong. It, that break goes harder than it has any right to, and I love it. It is just mm, makes my heart very, very happy. Um, I just I have many, many feelings about this song. When I first heard it, I thought it was about something very, very different. The lyrics are pretty important on this one. Yep. At its core, it describes the growing hostility and toxicity in this relationship. There's no communication. He's not feeling seen. He's not feeling heard. He's frustrated and he is bitter. First couple of listens, I thought that was all it was. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Granite sounds like your ex-wife. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I've been there. Been there. With Granite, he's realizing that he's giving far more to this relationship than the other person is, and he wants to talk about it. He wants to sit down, he wants to have that conversation, he wants to address this power imbalance. There's too much anger on the part of the other person and too much hurt and frustration on his part. Sulfur on your breath, granite in my chest, for them to properly communicate. He's tried to talk to them about this before to no avail. The other person doesn't see reason to discuss the situation. They're happy with things the way they are. They don't want his utter blind devotion for them to change. This makes him angry and bitter, and that's reflected when he says fury too damn late. Reason dislocates. It's obvious that he's chosen a car journey to talk to the other person about everything. It's somewhere that they cannot run from the conversation as they've done before. You never want to talk about it. Here, he tells them he's more than just a warm body. This links back to the summoning and his concern that the relationship is just a physical thing for the other person. He feels like the other person is more than that for him, which ties back to chokehold and the fact that he feels it was no accident that they met, it was fate that's bound them together. This is reflected when he says, I was more than just a body in your passenger seat. You were more than just somebody I was destined to meet. He's still feeling like this was like some kind of preordained fate that they were supposed to be together. He then goes on to say that he knows this person goes half blind when they're looking at him, and for me, this could mean several different things here. One way you could look at it is that the other person is blinded by their lust for him, and again, this ties back to the whole kind of, are you just here for that one thing? And he sees that they see their relationship purely as like a physical sexual thing and nothing more beyond that, whereas for him it goes much deeper than that. See also the summoning and chokehold. He feels their connection is much more meaningful and they're bonded together through some divine destiny. The other way of looking at it is that they are blinded by their anger towards him, forcing this conversation and making them feel as though they must make a decision, either make some kind of commitment to him and their relationship or be honest with him and tell him that he's just being used for what they can get from him, something physical rather than any fulfilling emotional connection. There is another meaning here, and for me, I think all three of them are very, very relevant. It could also mean that they're not seeing him for what he really is, and this frustrates him. Like they're looking through him rather than seeing, and they're only seeing what they want rather than what's actually there. So to his mind, they're not seeing that he's the right person for them, or he thinks that he's the right person for them. He feels as though everything he does for this person isn't appreciated, it's not seen, it's not recognized. So at this point, he's feeling pretty despondent, and you can hear that. He knows he knows the other person's giving him nothing in return, just more and more reasons to end the relationship. You give me nothing whatsoever, just a reason to leave. Despite them telling him that they want him, and again, this goes back to the fear of only being wanted for what the other person can gain from him, even though this other person knows he isn't what they need and they tell him that, he's arguing this, saying, I am, I am. The next section is much angrier. He's frustrated that the other person acts as though they know him when they don't even see him properly. And he's starting to realize the situation is much more toxic than he originally thought, and it's not good for him. The other person only keeps him around for when they want that physical contact. You know, essentially he's just a hookup to them. That's it. And that's very much reflected in the kind of break where he says, you know, when you sit there acting like you know me, acting like you only brought me in to get below me. This could have a couple of different meanings. One is that purely sexual aspect where he is below them. And the other way of looking at it is that this other person feels like he's beneath them. Not good enough. There's clearly been aggression and abuse, as he mentions death threats. However, if we look at this in context with songs later on in the album, which we will be doing, there's a question as to whether or not the abuse was physical or verbal, or whether it was in the form of threatening harm to themselves if he leaves them. That is something I will be coming back to. Ultimately, even though he knows that the situation is bad for him, the other person is controlling and aggressive. They refuse to talk about the things that are bothering them and are just using them for their own gain, and could eventually end up harming him. He would rather go through that and suffer it than be alone. And that's reflected when he says, if you have a problem, you should have told me. And then he goes on to say, we'd rather be 6 feet under than be lonely. The idea of them being in a car while having this conversation is reinforced during the next part of the song, and also during the chorus. By this point, the imagery kind of gives way to them driving, arguing back and forth. Yep, back and forth, they're arguing with each other. He tells them to keep their eyes on the road, or they're going to be there forever. And this feels like it could be both literal and metaphorical. And this is actually something, as Falcon has just said here, and this is something I will come to. Metaphorically, it speaks of being stuck in that cycle of wanting the other person to love you so much that you overlook any glaring red flags from them, even forgiving their abusive, dismissive nature. He ignores all the warning signs because he is so very infatuated with this person that even them giving him clear signals that they only want him for one thing, he's ignoring that because he feels he can change their mind and make them fall in love with him and want more. The literal side of this is reflected in the lyrics between the secondhand smoke and the glass on the street, as well as a particular moment that actually begins around the 2 minute 17-second mark. I'm actually going to go back and play that. There is a pause before what sounds like distorted raised voices at about 2 minutes 20. And then as this fades out at 2:32, a guitar gives the impression of brakes and car tires screeching against the road where they've lost control and actually crashed, causing smoke from the car, glass on the street, and the two people being stuck there forever. I'm going to go ahead and play that part. So I'm going to go to 2 minutes 17 seconds in the video. If you just bear with me 1 second while I do that. It's something, actually at 2 minutes 16, but that's fine. It's something that is very, very chilling. If you hear it after it's been pointed out to you, it kind of clicks and it's just like, oh. So I'm just going to go back to my other screen here. And we're just going to listen to that small section that I pointed out. So I don't know if anyone else can hear this. I know, as I said, when Falcon and I were discussing it, we could both hear it, but it sounds like it's very distorted kind of voices, definitely kind of back and forth arguing. And I'll just go back to this. So yeah, for me, that is, I actually have chills talking about it. I had chills when I heard it that first time and it clicked for me. Oh my God, that's actually what's happening. Um, and I just think it takes on such a chilling turn when you look at it from that point of view. And it speaks of a loss of control and how fast a toxic relationship can spiral into something even more twisted and distorted. It fits in very, very well with the theme of the opening two tracks and leads very, very nicely into Aqua Regia, which is the next song that we're going to be discussing. Sick breakdown. It's that drop when that guitar kicks in. Ugh, makes me so, so happy. And also a little unnerved. Now it's kind of one of those things where it's just like the first few times you hear it, you're just like, oh, that is just that guitar is just yes. And then you kind of hear it and you're just like, oh, love a dirty drop. Oh yeah. There's so many of those in Sleep Token stuff. Honestly, it's just absolutely fantastic. Um, my wording is spot on. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I worked very, very hard on these analysis. And I've loved every second of doing it, let me tell you all. I absolutely have. Um, if everyone's happy to move into Aqua Regia, um, this one's this one's a good one. This one's a good one. So we're going to move into the next track. So for everyone watching on my YouTube channel, thank you so very much for joining me, and I will see you all in Aqua Regia. Take care.